Today I'm joined by Alexander Linn of Shipshape AI, a home technology company based here in Austin, Texas. So appreciate you joining today, Alexander.
Troy, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Nice. So why don't you maybe give us just a for people who aren't aware, give us maybe just a little quick, brief overview of Shipshape and what you guys do.
Yeah, for sure. So what we do at Shipshape is we help people save money on their maintenance and the energy related to managing their homes. And the
Okay.
way we do that is we put in smart home devices. These are smart plugs and water sensors and temperature sensors. And in doing that, we can measure how much energy each appliance is using. We can predict when those appliances might break down. We can identify risks that could cause damage to the house and then opportunities to improve the performance of the home. And at the end of the day, we think every home should be safe and reliable and efficient. With all this technology we have in the world, it seems like our homes should be our safe space. And we have a real opportunity to bring technology and help homeowners save money. And that's more important now than ever, given where we are in the economic times.
Yeah. And given how expensive replacing a lot of those different appliances and home fixtures and stuff have become too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the most expensive asset in people's lives. In fact, for most of our customers, it's literally their only asset. And people are very bogged down by their homes. They spend a lot of time stressed out and worried about these systems in their home. And if something goes wrong, it can mean more than money. It can really mean psychological well-being. And we want to help the homeowners with technology.
Yeah. No, as a real estate agent, I'm well aware of the fact that even people who have bought and sold homes many times before, like it's such a stressful thing when they have to do it again, since you only do it every couple of years at the most for a lot of people, and how much more expensive it is than almost any other purchase that most people make. Like there's just a lot of emotion and stress and anxiety that can reside in a home for people.
Yeah, 100%. And nobody buys a home planning to be a property manager. They buy a home planning to raise a family, planning to work at a job, and then they find themselves overwhelmed and ill-equipped to take care of that home. And the consequences can be very serious when things go wrong.
Yes. And unfortunately, in general, people have a tendency to try to push off doing a lot of things in life, whether that's eating healthy or getting their car repaired or doing home maintenance stuff. And that usually just tends to exacerbate the problem.
Yeah, no question. I mean, think about when was the last time that your water heater gave you a heads up that it might start leaking through the roof? Or when was the last time you got in the shower and the water came out and it was cold? I mean, you didn't know that was going to happen. So everything in your home, you wait until after it's broken to fix it. What if we could live in a world where you got an early warning sign, like a check engine light for your house that told you when you needed to deal with something before you broke down on the side of the road?
Sure. And of course, just like breaking down the side of the road, most of those issues, your AC goes out at the hottest day of the summer type of thing, right? Your
Right,
your hot
right.
water heater goes out when it's in the middle of winter and you're cold. So definitely important things there. For you personally, I know most people that live here in Austin have an origin story that has them coming to Austin at some point in time. Tell us a little bit about you and kind of your story of either growing up in or coming to Austin.
Yeah, I mean, Austin is an incredible city. And I was actually in San Francisco. I was born in Birmingham, Alabama, raised in Ohio, sort of small town kid, working in San Francisco for Salesforce and their AI department as a lead engineer there. And I was thinking about how could we use this really powerful technology to help people? And I got really interested in homes because the home is about a lot more than just a physical structure you live in. It's really like a psychological part of people feeling good about their lives. And what I realized was that Austin was a perfect place to come in the center of the country, and not just geographically in the center, but like in the center of the country politically. You have a very progressive community in Austin that's rooted in a conservative state of Texas, and we want to serve all homeowners. We didn't want to be a company in San Francisco working with a bunch of high tech folks who didn't really understand what it's like to be in middle America. And we thought Austin brought the best of both worlds for us to be able to get the best talent, really forward thinking people, but also people who could connect with our customers. And what we're seeing in Austin right now is lots of other companies feel the same way. And it's sort of the epicenter of the next big technology uh, technology growth and opportunity in the economy. And everyone's coming to Austin for similar reasons. And we're finding a lot of like minded people who they don't want to just build companies. They want to build companies that are going to build a better world. And it's inspiring to be in that community.
Yeah. What got you involved or interested in technology to begin with?
Well, that's an interesting question because I was interested from the time I was a kid, but going through college, I sort of thought that the right direction to go was work in finance and I could get a really good job in finance. And I was interested in that. But pretty quickly, I realized that it wasn't enough for me. And what I was doing, I was working at a hedge fund. I was looking at macroeconomic trends, and I'd identified that technology was creating a whole lot of efficiency in these different industries, but at the same time, inequality. So, what happens when technology comes into the automotive industry and you get 10 times the output per worker? That means the returns go to the owners of capital and intellectual property and away from the worker. So I got concerned about inequality being a big problem for the future of our society and started thinking about how could I use technology to sort of try and help solve that problem. And that's where I got interested in if I could use artificial intelligence in a way that would create more efficient homes, help people save money on their homes. Not only would that use some of the most powerful technology we ever created in a way that sort of redistributed the wealth back to everyday people, but it would also help with the psychological well being. So if we could help these homeowners to be less bogged down, they might be able to go out in the community and do more, focus on their families, focus on their careers, and that would help build a better world. So I got really interested in the economic development impact of technology, and several years into my career, decided I was going to go from being a finance guy to being an engineer working on AI. And it was an interesting journey to get there. And most people told me I was crazy and I would never get there, but I was very passionate about figuring out how to solve this problem. And the rest of it sort of figured, the rest of how I got there sort of happened naturally because I was so drawn to trying to help people with technology.
A lot of it probably found you, right? Like once you have a specific purpose, it's amazing how you can kind of the scene when you own a red car, all you see a red car is kind of phenomenon. Like when you have a purpose for, having a company that improves people's well-being on top of being profitable, so that way you can stay in business. It's amazing how you start to find like-minded people uh, that fit that narrative, and the uses for technology that can fit that as well too.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. It's like you sort of give a certain gravity to this vision or this world that you want to see, and when people can get behind that, they say, "Wow, that would be good." People are less bogged down with their homes. We have a real energy crisis on our hands. We can't. People ask about the recession all the time right now, and I say, "Look, the recession. Climate change will not wait for a recession. That hot water heater that's up in your attic that might fall through the roof, that won't wait for a recession." And when all of a sudden people start understanding how important it is, it's like the stars align. It's like one thing after another comes out of the woodwork to either it's a new team member, it's a new investor, it's a new customer, and people align around values much more than they align around products. This is something I learned working under Mark Benioff and his organization at Salesforce. Companies wanted to work with Salesforce because it was a good company with good values. And it wasn't because their CRM software was so much better than Microsoft CRM software. And I actually saw big deals won and listened to CEOs say that was the motivating factor. So you're absolutely right. I mean, when you've got and this whole thing has been about the idea to help people, and all of a sudden there's just been a lot of folks who have rallied around us to make it real.
Yeah. And one of the things, kind of, you go back to, you're first getting into the hedge fund world, like with technology in general, and then AI even, or with the internet as a specific technology, because there's plenty of other technologies before that, but with the internet specifically and now AI, like we sometimes forget just how new these technologies are, right? Like we like to think, and for some of us, a lot of our lives have been lived with the internet, and a lot of most of the remaining of our lives will be lived even more and more with artificial intelligence. But they really are relatively new technologies in the scheme of things. And so the fact that how they first started off isn't how they're going to continue over the next 20, 30, 100 years. Sometimes people give technology a bad rap because they're looking at it in such a small snapshot of time, instead of really getting a larger holistic idea of how these things will eventually improve our lives long term.
Yeah, it's interesting. One of the problems with artificial intelligence is it's going to happen a lot faster with much greater impact than anything we've ever seen before. So it took a long time for automobiles to get out, it took a long time for central air conditioning to get out. Artificial intelligence will proliferate the economy very quickly. But what we've seen with technologies is you have the haves and the have nots. You create a lot of digital divide. So, for example, when we went through COVID and you needed to have broadband internet to dial into the classroom, well, the kids living in rural communities, lower income communities, approximately 30% of some of our states don't even have access to broadband internet. Those kids all fell behind in school.
Hmm.
That's what we call the digital divide. That digital divide exists for businesses, it exists for people. And one of our core values at Shipshape is how do you make technology accessible to everyone? Now, how do you lift up the small businesses, the everyday homeowner with technology, not the early adopters, not the sophisticated, folks who have enough money and resources to invest in this? How do you package it in a way where it's really accessible to everyone? And if we could do that, everyone can get the benefit of this very powerful technology, and we don't run the risk of leaving folks behind. And it is a real concern of mine that people get left behind by technology, and it's very, very hard to catch up.
Yes, it's very true. How do you, so as a business owner, how do you balance that um, objective with obviously, your business objectives? Because again, you obviously have to one, stay in business, otherwise everything's kind of a moot point that way. But also to continue to grow the business, you have, there's additional levels of productivity and financial independence that you have to gain to kind of keep that momentum going to really probably achieve your philanthropic goals as well too as a business.
Yeah, I tried to specifically choose a business where our business would do well when our mission actually worked. So it wasn't like, and I love what they did at Salesforce, but Salesforce is the business of selling CRM, and they have an awesome philanthropic mission, which is sort of separate from that. And I wanted to say, well, what if I built a business model where the actual business model was to make the world better, help people save energy, help people save money, reduce the carbon footprint of their homes. So this is like how we make money. And if we do that as a business, customers pay us a subscription. It's worth paying our subscription because we save them more money than they would otherwise spend on wasted energy and unexpected damage to their house. So that was really important to me. That was the first part of it. The second part of it was then how do I build a culture that would constantly look for ways to do more and building a better world? And not only that, but make sure that over time, some of these technologies become very powerful and there's some unintended consequences that can come with that. So over time, I'm just one person. I'm not going to be able to control this company. I don't want to stay in control of this company. I want this company to be for homeowners. There should be a platform out there that helps homeowners manage their homes. I mean, you got Uber for taxis, Airbnb for hotels, but the most important asset in your life, and homeowners are left all on their own to figure it out. So I built in a philanthropic model. I learned from Salesforce. Mark Benioff built the 111 model, and we built the 222 model. And for me, it was about taking what Mark and thousands of other companies have now done, standing on the shoulders of those giants to do even more. So we doubled our contribution. We gave 2% of our equity to the Shipshape Foundation. So when our company is very successful, we'll have a pool of money to make grants to low income homeowners. We set aside 2% of our product to make sure that 1 out of 50 customers on our platform has a subsidized product and a free subscription, which will help us to serve all the homeowners. And then 2% of our time. So our employees get 5 days a year to volunteer, doesn't count towards their vacation. And that makes sure that they're out in the community working with the people who we want to help improve their lives. And I thought if we did this, we could create a sort of hyper alignment. I'd have a culture and I'd have employees that were saying, yes, we do have a for profit motive. We do have investors, and that's all designed around outcomes that will make the world better. But how do we even build upon that over time and stay true to that? It's by building a culture that's really, really aligned with the community. So we have the ability to make money while doing good. And that was a big part of what was interesting about homes. And one of the things you'll notice about homes is they go all the way across the income and demographic spectrum. So you get the chance when you're helping homeowners, no matter how, even an $80,000 home cost potentially thousands of dollars a year to operate. It's still a massive expense, and we can still save that person a significant amount of money, even though it's a lower cost home compared to, the average home in America is more like a couple $100,000. So we get the chance to help all homeowners save money.
Yeah. You mentioned kind of some of the unintended consequences with technology. I don't know if you heard I think it was a couple months ago, at least that's when I had saw the article about, I think it was this summer in Colorado, about people that were a part of um, a program through the local electric company that had smart thermostats where the electric company, because of a heat wave and some potential blackouts, actually can end up controlling their thermostats and not allowing them to lower lower the temperatures down for whatever reason. I didn't get a whole super deep into it, but like that, or again, you talk about technology, how important it is to have access to the internet, right? We kind of think of the internet as something, if you have the internet, you kind of think of it as something that everyone has, or you can go to a coffee shop and get in stuff. But in reality, there still are a lot of people that don't have it. And that's a very binary thing about what you can or can't do then by having or not having good quality internet.
Yeah, it's a real challenge to it's a real challenge to deliver the technology to the homeowners in a way that actually creates value for them. So for us, it's really been, all about understanding the customer, understanding what applications that customer cares about, what systems in their home are most expensive to operate. Um, and what's been different about what we do, to bring it back to your utility comment about changing the thermostat, most of these businesses are built in a way where they're kind of naturally averse to the homeowner's interest. Almost every business that sells something to the homeowner is not aligned with that homeowner's interest. They want to sell them more of that thing.
Mhm.
And they don't actually, if you look at the way the home works, the utility company doesn't really talk to the air conditioning manufacturer. That air conditioning manufacturer doesn't really talk to the plumber, right? So you have different types of providers that don't talk to each other, that have different sets of interest. And there is no solution for a home that says, hey, our best interest is to help the homeowner. And if we help you, you'll keep paying us a subscription fee to help you save money. So we wanted to be a subscription-based business that was really aligned with the homeowner. And we're going to facilitate those exact programs. In fact, one of our largest partners is the second largest utility in the world, Southern Company. We've piloted our technology with them. Alabama Power, their subsidiary in Alabama, has made an investment in Shipshape. And we see a huge opportunity to provide the utilities with the interface that homeowner needs and the trust from the homeowner so they can better manage the grid. Because what's happening is real. I mean, when the grid shuts down in Texas due to a polar vortex, it actually causes people to lose their lives. I mean, this, for some of us, we're uncomfortable and we get blankets. For other folks, it literally is a life and death situation. We have a very fragile electrical grid in the United States. We're going to put globally 4 billion more air conditioning systems in over the next about 15 years. So we really can't afford to not optimize the energy in these homes. In fact, it's not possible to meet the Paris Accord and our climate change goals if we don't learn how to manage the energy in the homes better. But right now, the homeowner doesn't trust the company who put a little bit of fine print in there and said, hey, I may change your thermostat and you won't have control over it. We're going to help both sides build more trust. The reality is, these utility companies, a lot of them are very, very good people. The folks at Alabama Power care more than almost anyone we've ever met about making the lives of their customers better. But they don't necessarily have all the technology tools to do it. And we're going to help bring them some technology tools, help bring the customer some tools, build more trust in that relationship, put the customer, empower the customer to understand what's going on and understand when that thermostat is being taken over by the utility, they may actually be helping save a life. And when they do that, how many more people would say, you know what, I can deal with it being a little bit hotter. But right now, that level of communication doesn't really exist. And so the trust is broken.
Yeah. With a company like yours that has a strong mission in their why as they're growing, how do you work to maintain that as you get larger, as there are more people, financial investors, different people to kind of answer to in that regard. Because I do think that's one of the things that's challenging for a lot of companies, even if they don't have um, always a great mission. Like, once you start to go public or you get bought by a company, well, suddenly, the mission that you had gets altered to some degree, uh, based off, again, the company that purchased you. Or I think a lot of what happens on Wall Street is, hey, well, we have to hit these stock prices every 90 days and stuff. And it's not that there's always, not to say that they're not, can't be greedy as well too, but it's not always coming from a place of greed, but coming from a place of, we need to hit this or that's going to affect your job or your stock price or these metrics. And so an advantage of a smaller company like yours is you don't have some of those outside voices. But how do you maintain that vision and focus as you grow and some of those things start to potentially come into play?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. First, it comes down to really connecting to and listening to our customers. And the second piece is, if we're going to serve, and the primary customer is the homeowner, but that's not our only customer. The contractor is our customer, the utilities are our customer, the manufacturers are our customer, insurance providers are customers. We are in the business of connecting a home on one side to the providers, the businesses that they require to take care of that home. We connect them to each other. That's fundamentally how our business works. So when we go partner with providers, part of the reason we wanted to partner with Alabama Power is because they're intensely focused on economic development and promoting more well-being for their residents. The reason we like some of these contractor partners we work with, there's a really great contractor partner we've been working with, that business called Thrashers, and they're a value-aligned, market-leading dealer. And we specifically seek this out. We go into market, we ask about the reputations of dealers, and we go talk to them. We look for contractors that have their own philanthropic initiatives. We look for contractors that donate money to charity, that train their people and give career growth to their employees, that get good reviews from their customers. We talk to their customers about it. So we're trying to build a network of not just businesses that'll help us grow, but really starting with value-aligned businesses that care about more than just growth. This is about helping homeowners, modernizing homes. And look, when we do it, there's plenty of money for all of us to make. We spend in the United States about $1 trillion a year managing our homes with contractors, manufacturers, utilities, and insurance. So how much money homeowners spend with those providers. And when we look at those different segments, approximately 30% of that is wasted. Okay, so we're talking $300 billion a year that's getting wasted. Shipshape's going to go make that significantly more efficient. We're going to take a small cut of the efficiency we create. As a result, those providers will be more profitable and the homeowners will save money. It's literally a win-win-win. We're not a disruptive business. We're trying to network together the participants. Everybody wins. And by structuring a business model that's a win-win-win, by building a philanthropic model into our culture, and by partnering with the right partners, we'll build essentially a community around our business that helps ensure that we continue to focus on our mission and stay true to our values.
No, I love it. Yeah, one of the things, again, so as a realtor, one of the things that I notice a lot having to go on home inspections and all those kind of things is you think about the short time frame that we have had for internet and a lot of the different technologies that have come along because of it. And it kind of takes me back. My grandpa was a Sears repairman back in the day, and so like could fix anything. But it also felt like a lot of the appliances, while less complicated than they are today for obvious reasons, also seem like they lasted longer in some regards too. And so it'll be interesting to see if technology, and that's where, say, a company like Samsung, who makes great products, but like say and it feels like there's potentially that pull of like, well, shoot, if we make our product too good, they're not going to have to buy a new refrigerator in 7 years. They'll buy it in 15 years. And that's, cutting into our, profit margins, which, could be a impact for investors and stuff. And so it's not that I think on an individual basis or an individual product or a specific service provider, people are coming in and generally trying to do poor work so they can get work again down the road. But it's, again, a little bit of that juxtapose of like, if you could really make a car that could last for 30 years, well, you wouldn't be able to sell more cars very often.
Yeah, it's an interesting problem. And that's why we tried to build a business that actually had a business model directly aligned with those incentives. But you're absolutely right that, and in the bigger picture, been a very good thing for the world. We have had to build a lot of housing. When I was born, there were like less than 1 billion people living in the developed economies. And they're telling, the World Economic Forum just came out and said that one of the largest threats to our world is not addressing climate change. And in order to do that, we're going to have to modernize and provide 3 billion more homes up to standard. Well, how do you do that? You got to make dishwashers cheaper. You got to produce more dishwashers. You got to ship them further. And when you do all that stuff, yes, you got plastic parts instead of metal parts, and they break down sooner. But ultimately, the economy is figuring out how to provide, and a lot of it does become sort of consumerism, and that's not generally good for the world. But our ability to provide higher quality of living standards to now what we're talking billions of people in the world is an amazing thing. And you look at the outcomes that have come from that, and generally across the board, the world is much better now
Oh
than
yeah.
it was 100 years ago. It's hard for
Oh
people to see that.
no, yeah. For as many people who want to demonize technology, whether that's social media or self-driving cars or any of these kind of things, it's like uh, go live 50, 100 years ago and come back to me in many places around the world. Like people a lot of times like to romanticize the past in general, but also one of the things I'd like to they think of, I think a lot of times too, is when they think, oh, remember the simpler times 100 years ago, they're also usually putting themselves as like the Roosevelts 100 years ago. Well, yeah, your life wasn't too bad if you were the Roosevelts 100 years ago. It's still the average middle American today has more than they did. But if you go back to the average American 100 years ago that was living in New York City and not the Roosevelts, like life wasn't so great. Not having great sewer systems and all different kinds of things in New York City. So yeah, like as much as people like to demonize technology and progress, um, really life has not been better for more people at any time in history than it is today.
When we take the technology, we can now use it to network these participants together so that there's visibility into those outcomes, which previously there wasn't, and that's really hard. What I can tell you for sure is that a lot of these companies care about having good products. Like I'll give you an example. One of the manufacturers of dehumidifiers we work with, a business called April Air, exceptional company. They're trying to make cleaner quality air, more efficient air conditioning systems. They care a lot about their customers, and they want to know when we can bring them data about the performance of their appliance and help them make a higher quality appliance that does a better job and lasts longer. That's in their interest. They do want to do that. We don't meet companies that are trying to deliver poor quality products so that they can make a higher margin off of their customer and replace them more frequently. It's not the market forces will push companies in a direction of doing that. But when we can create the feedback loop, which has previously been impossible, but now Shipshape comes and gets data out of the home. We help the utility have that data. We help the manufacturers have the data, the insurance provider. That feedback loop allows us to create better products that are much more aligned with what's good for the world.
Yep, very much so. I know you mentioned, I don't know how we'll see how well it works, but so like for Shapeship specifically, so I have a home. What kind of specific things are you guys do, and how does your product work in a specific home?
Yeah, there's three primary categories. So there's the foundation, which is where we go into the basement and crawl space. A lot of folks don't go down in their basement and crawl space. In fact, a lot of folks actually are not physically able to really get down there and check frequently on the basement and crawl space, but they have equipment down there. They got pumps, sump pumps that pump water out when it rains, have dehumidifiers that keep the humidity under control so they don't grow mold in their house. And that's really where we started. Nobody's helping homeowners. There is no Nest for your crawl space, right? But there's 26 million homes in the US that have a crawl space that are literally like rotting underneath them. The floorboards are rotting. It's causing massive financial damage. I mean, we're talking tens of thousands of dollars to deal with this issue that homeowners think they're paying down their loan, building equity in their house, and they go to sell it, and it ends up being condemned. We've literally seen this from customers. Then on top of that, the whole time they were living there, they were wasting about 15% of extra energy, money they can't afford. 20% of Americans last year couldn't afford to pay their full energy bills. So you can't really afford to just waste energy because you don't know you're wasting it.
Mhm.
Well, then on top of that, you get air quality problems. You start growing mold. There's an epidemic of asthma in the country. Like 2 times as many people have asthma now as did about 30, 40 years ago. And it kind of coincides directly with central air conditioning. You start forcing cold air through buildings when it's hot outside, you create condensation, humidity drives mold growth, and now people are getting sick with asthma and other respiratory diseases. So, like, that's just coming out of the basement and crawl space. The second category for us would be HVAC, the air conditioning systems, heating and cooling your house. So we go in and we connect your thermostat to Shipshape. We connect that. A lot of times people have up in the attic, they'll have an air handler that helps move the air around. That's one of the most common reasons you claim an insurance damage, because that air handler has a condensation pan that overflows and it drips through the ceiling. And next thing you know, it's thousands of dollars to get it replaced. Again, no one's going into their attic very frequently to check on that equipment. There's usually other equipment like hot water heaters that are up in your attic. In your kitchen, you have refrigerators, dishwashers. I mean, many of us have experienced a refrigerator that went bad, and you lost hundreds of dollars of food and dealt with quite a painful experience. And sometimes it can take a month or two to get a new refrigerator. One of our customers was using their neighbor's refrigerator because their refrigerator went bad. This kind of stuff we're able to predict. We use a very simple, smart plug like this and a very simple, water sensor, humidity sensor, temperature sensor. We don't make hardware. We buy hardware from high quality vendors. We plug it into our software sort of brain, if you will, that can analyze all that data. We look at the weather data. We look at data about your house. And with just those two little devices, we can connect pretty much every appliance and system in your home and monitor every area of your home to predict risks and recommend areas you could increase the performance and save some money.
Nice. No, that's again, as someone who's had dishwasher issues and refrigerator issues and hot water heater issues from at some point in time in their home ownership life. Like again, it's not they rarely come at opportune times, and again, they're not inexpensive either.
Yeah, I can assure you, Troy, you are not alone. Basically, every homeowner deals with this, and it's kind of crazy. Like, we are right now living in a world where cars drive themselves. They're made in factories by robots. And then you get home for your kid's birthday and you find out the air conditioning went out because you walk in and it's 90 degrees. And then that ends up leading to mold growth in the ducts and now you're getting sick. I mean, it's really backwards to have this much technology and this many resources and not help people with such a basic fundamental need, which is making sure they got a stable roof over their head and they're not bogged down trying to take care of their homes.
Yeah. Have you guys worked much, or do you guys work much with home warranty companies as well, or?
Home warranty companies, we've talked to quite a few of them. A number of our utility partners offer sort of appliance protection plans. Um, we right now, that market has been a challenge for two reasons. One, most homeowners don't have them.
Mhm.
There's actually a small fraction of the market, and typically they get them when they purchase the house. The
Mhm.
real estate agent recommends them, and then they cancel them. The customer satisfaction is fairly low because those warranties are issued without any real data about the house. And the satisfaction then for the customer results in a lot of times they think that something's going to be covered and it's not. So we really appreciate what those businesses are trying to do, and there's some really good businesses out there. But at the moment, we see the position they're in as not quite as in sync with us as, say, like an insurance or utility provider.
Sure.
And we're very much looking forward to finding, the right home warranty type providers where we can enhance their service and give them real data. And imagine, like, your insurance, you now have drive safe programs. Well, what if there was a home warranty where if you actually changed your air filters, and ShipShape knows if you change your air filters. So if you actually change your air filters, maybe you get a better deal. But right now, those products are a little bit sort of nichey and hard to deliver. So we would put them in, the not too distant future, but we're not yet working with them.
Sure. Yeah. No, it's something, like say, as a realtor, again, like say in a lot of transactions, there's something that takes place as kind of more of a small insurance policy for a home buyer buying a home to have some peace of mind that they just spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on a home and won't have to fix a refrigerator for the first year or something like that. But yeah, it's just kind of an interesting concept that way. Um, for for people who want to learn more about Shipshape, what are some of the best ways to learn more, get in touch, kind of find out more about you guys?
Yeah, we are very involved in the community. We're involved with the Austin Chamber. We try and support the innovation ecosystem in Austin, Texas, and other communities we participate in. Definitely, our website has a lot of good information. www.shipshape.ai. We have white papers, we have blog posts, product information. But I'd really encourage people just to call us. And the reason why is because we have these fantastic home assistants. They sit here in the United States, actually in Birmingham, Alabama. We have a great network operations center here, and uh, these folks are trained in how homes work. They're trained in building science. They're trained in the mechanical systems. They're trained in utilities and contractors, and their sole job is to help homeowners think about which technology would be right for their home to help them with the things that are most important. So if you just call in and you ask for some help, we will ask you a few questions, what's important to you, and we'll be able to recommend you a specific solution that'd be right for your home, and then give you information on actually that solution so you understand what we're recommending for you.
Very nice. Yeah. No, like I say, it's especially with a newer type of product, right, that you guys are offering versus entering an existing kind of industry space. The giving knowledge to the potential customer base is obviously one of the critical parts to getting adoption for what you guys are doing.
Absolutely, 100%.
Cool. A couple other places I know you guys are on Facebook and LinkedIn as well too. So for people that are uh, interested in just kind of stalking them a little bit more or kind of keeping up with those blog posts, you can find them at Shapeship AI on Facebook and at LinkedIn too.
Yep, LinkedIn's a great place, and we have a lot of good information coming out on LinkedIn. So please follow us there as well.
Awesome, cool. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat today. You guys have a lot of interesting things going on, and love the mission and love where things are headed for you guys.
Well, Troy, thank you for having me. And I think what you're doing is super important. And if we could get more folks out there like you, shining a light on the folks who are trying to pull together the resources to build a better world, it really is powerful. So thank you for what you're doing. And thank you to all the other folks you've interviewed who are out there trying to build good companies. And let's do it together. Let's build a better world together.